It started with one person. No warning, no sound, no reason, just movement. A woman stepped into the street and began to dance. Not gracefully, not joyfully. There were no music, no celebration, just motion. Repetitive, relentless, wrong. At first, people watched. Some laughed, others shook their heads and walked past. Because what else could it be? A moment of madness, a strange outburst, something that would pass, but it didn't. Hours went by. She didn't stop. Her breathing grew heavier, her movements sharper, more desperate. But still, she kept going, through the day, into the night, and when the sun rose again, she was still there, dancing. That's when something shifts, not in her, in them, the people watching, because somewhere between curiosity and discomfort, something else appeared, something quiet, something invisible. Another person stepped forward. No words, no hesitation. They joined her. Then another and another. Within days, the street was full. Dozens of people moving, not together, but the same. Each trapped in their own rhythm, each unable to stop. There was no music, and yet they moved as if there was. People tried to intervene. They shouted, they grabbed arms, pulled bodies away, but it didn't work. The dancers resisted, not violently, not consciously, but with a kind of persistence, like their own bodies no longer belonged to them. And then came the realization, the one no one wanted to say it out loud. They weren't choosing this. They couldn't stop. Days passed, then more, and still they danced. Exhaustion set in, not all at once, but slowly. You could see it in their faces, in the way their movements lost coordination, but never stopped. Feet dragged, bodies trembled, but the rhythm stayed. Some collapsed, only to rise again, as if rest wasn't allowed, as if something inside them refused to let them be still. And then people began to fear something worse than the dancing. They began to fear each other, because no one knew how it spread. There was no contact, no pattern, just proximity, observation, awareness. You watch long enough and you started to feel it, a pull, a pressure, a thought that didn't feel like yours. What if I move like that? What if I just tried? And once that thought entered, it didn't leave. Authorities didn't understand it. So they did something unthinkable. They leaned into it. They brought musicians. They encouraged the movement. They believed that if it burned itself out, it would end. But you don't stop something like this by feeding it. The music played. The rhythm grew louder, and the dancers kept going. Not because they wanted to, but because something had already taken hold. Something that didn't need permission. Something that didn't need a reason. And the most terrifying part? It didn't look like possession. It didn't look like madness. It looked like people losing control of themselves, one step at a time. Tonight on Morbid, We step into a city where movement became a prison, where stopping was no longer a choice, and where something unseen moved from one person to another without ever being noticed. Because sometimes the most dangerous thing in the world aren't what we can see, they are what we feel just before we lose control. Out of all the real stories I ever came across, this one never left me. Not because it's violent, not because it feels impossible. In 1518, people began to dance in the streets, not for joy, not for music, but because something inside them wouldn't let them stop. One person turned into a few, and the few turned into dozens. Day after day, their bodies kept moving, even as they grew weaker, even as their feet gave out beneath them. Imagine feeling your body breaking down and still not being able to stop. No cure, no explanation, just movement until there was nothing left. And the question that still haunts me is, what if it wasn't just happening back then?